Bruce Lee, a globally celebrated superstar, excelled as a martial arts master, an exceptional film star, and an inspiration for numerous generations. Despite his relatively brief life, he succeeded in capturing the affection of millions of fans. Sadly, he passed away at the young age of 32 in 1973. However, his enduring legacy ensures that his impact will be felt for generations to come. Bruce Lee was undeniably an incredible martial artist. His speed, agility, and mastery of various martial arts techniques were so impressive that many people couldn't help but question if he could be a real-world superhuman. Today, we will show you the evidence that Bruce Lee was superhuman. Let's get started.
Number 10. The Dragon Flag. I'm sure we all know that no matter what skills we have, they can easily be lost if we don't keep practicing them. These skills could be anything from typing and gaming to singing or many other things that we are good at. But for Bruce Lee, his most obvious skill was his physical ability. According to Bruce's wife, he spent almost every minute of every day working out and honing his skills, knowing that if he wanted to be the world's greatest martial artist, he had to dedicate countless hours to practicing and exercising. Bruce didn't train like anyone else. He believed that ordinary exercises were not good enough to help him stay in shape. This led him to develop his own style of exercising, which eventually became known as the Dragon Flag. Most of Bruce's workouts focused on his torso and core muscles, which were crucial for his martial arts techniques. He specifically designed the Dragon Flag to target these muscles. During a Dragon Flag workout, Bruce would lay flat on a bench and then lift the rest of his body from the bench using only his shoulders. This workout effectively trained almost every muscle in the core of his body, helping him achieve exceptional levels of physical fitness. Nowadays, Bruce's Dragon Flag workouts have become a staple in the martial arts community, with his technique helping martial artists worldwide realize the importance of core body strength. Number 9. Breaking a sandbag by a sidekick. So let's talk about one of the wildest stories about Bruce Lee, and trust me, there are a ton to choose from. This dude was always doing crazy things that left people speechless, but one of the most mind-blowing feats was when he shattered a 45-kilogram sandbag with a single kick. Yep, you heard that right, a sandbag, broken into pieces by one kick from the legend himself. Now, we all know Bruce Lee for his insanely fast punches, but here's the thing, he didn't just train his fists. Nope, he trained every inch of his body to be a deadly weapon, including his legs. And let me tell you, that kick, known as the Super Sidekick, was no joke. It hit the sandbag so hard that it shattered into bits. And get this, it's not just some tall tale. The Guinness Book of World Records confirmed it. Think about it. If one kick could do that to a heavy sandbag, imagine what it could do to a person. It's no wonder nobody in their right mind would want to mess with Bruce Lee. I mean, look at the guy. Yet back then, there were doubters who thought he was all talk and no action. Just an actor who couldn't fight for real. Well, let's just say they learned their lesson the hard way. One by one, they challenged him, and one by one, they realized that picking a fight with Bruce Lee was a major mistake. Number 8. Catching grain of rice with chopsticks. If you're into martial arts films, you've probably watched The Karate Kid. Remember the scene where Daniel LaRusso tries to catch a fly with chopsticks? It looks simple, but turned out to be super tough. Well, Bruce Lee took it a notch higher. He'd reportedly throw rice in the air and catch them with chopsticks to sharpen his reflexes. Legend has it that he was almost a pro at this, way ahead of his time. His reflexes were so quick that no one could match his speed. People still debate if he truly achieved this superhuman feat, but it just adds to the myth of Bruce Lee. Number 7. World record. Every superhero definitely has to deal with their own supervillain, and Bruce Lee was no exception. Even as a kid, he always found himself getting into trouble, like skipping school and getting into street fights. There's a well-known story about him getting on the bad side of the Triad, which is considered one of the most dangerous cult groups in China. Realizing that their son was troubled, his parents encouraged him to learn martial arts to gain some discipline. Bruce was also motivated to learn to defend himself. However, he kept finding himself in one street fight after another. During one of those street fights, he actually ended up beating up the sons of a Triad boss. Worried for his safety, his parents decided to move him to the United States to continue his studies. He enrolled in the University of Washington and discovered that he could make money by teaching martial arts, which led him to open his first martial arts school and train people from his home. As his martial arts skills gained popularity and his movies became successful, there were people who doubted him. Many challenged him to fights, which he declined on several occasions. One notable challenge came from Vic Moore, an American karate champion. The controversial duel between them is still debated today, with each side holding onto their own theories about who won the fight. The objective of the fight was straightforward. Bruce was going to throw punches at Vic Moore, whose job was to block them. The footage clearly shows Bruce's lightning speed punches landing before Vic Moore could even react. Even after 56 years, the argument about who actually won the fight continues. Vic Moore claimed that he blocked some of the punches and even landed a hit on Bruce Lee. Despite this, Vic Moore also went on to become one of the greatest karate masters, making his own marks in history. Number 6, 700 pounds punching bag. So, this record about Bruce Lee kicking a 135 kilogram punching bag up to 5 meters in the air is one of the most talked about things. People argue about it a lot, with some saying it's just too impossible to have happened. But hey, let's not forget who we're talking about here. Bruce Lee wasn't just some random guy. He was a master of his art, proving it time and time again. The story goes that he kicked that heavy bag as high as a regular bungalow. Physicists have been going back and forth on this for ages. They just can't figure out how someone with Bruce Lee's body size, which was average by Asian standards and small by Western standards, could pull it off. They're saying the force of his kick couldn't possibly send such a heavy weight soaring so high. But then there's James Corbin, a famous American actor and Bruce Lee's student. He claimed that Bruce Lee had this incredible power and strength. He even called him the fastest man ever. Coburn said he personally watched Bruce Lee kick a supersized sandbag so hard that it smacked against the ceiling. The debate rages on, and it probably will for decades to come. That's because most of Bruce Lee's incredible feats weren't caught on video. They can only be backed up by first-hand accounts. But despite all the debate, Bruce Lee's legacy lives on. He's still known as one of the most powerful martial artists in history, a superhero of his time. Number 5, World's Strongest Man. When you think of the word superhuman, it's easy to see why strength is one of the first things that comes to mind. Superheroes can pull off amazing feats of strength like they're nothing at all. If Bruce was described as superhuman, it's logical to think he'd be much stronger than the average person. In many ways, he was. Just looking at Bruce, you might doubt that he could have superhuman strength. After all, he wasn't necessarily the most muscular or toned person out there. With his relatively small stature, it's tempting to overlook his strength. However, by simply watching some of his training videos, you could sense that Bruce was incredibly strong. Just take a look at him working with punching bags. Most people who use punching bags to practice their kicks and punches do so in a slow and controlled manner, even those with abs and 200 packs. Bruce, on the other hand, pretty much tore through these bags like they were made of Swiss cheese. Bruce reportedly even had challenges using regular punching bags because he simply punched through them and tear them down. So per usual, he needed to get a new challenge. Keep in mind that regular punching bags weigh about 50 kilograms, but the bags that Bruce would use weighed north of 135 kilograms, which is almost 3 times the weight of a regular punching bag. It's safe to say that Bruce grew to rip through these bags and tear them to shreds as well. This isn't a man that you'd like to get a punch or kick from on your body. Number 4, powerful training methods. So a lot of us hit the gym from time to time, but let's talk about push-ups and pull-ups. They're really big in the exercise world right now. The cool thing is, you don't need much to do them, just yourself and some floor space. And boy, do they pack a punch. They're tough, but that means they can really get your body going. We all have our limits with these exercises. Some of us can nail 50 push-ups in one shot, while others max out around 10. No shame in that, we're all on our own journey. Now, here's where it gets wild. Bruce Lee took things to a whole new level. If you're comfortable doing a certain number of push-ups, I'd put money on the fact that Bruce Lee could double that without even breaking a sweat. Seriously, the man was on another level. He once did a test where he did push-ups with just one hand and 2 fingers, his thumb and his index finger. And get this, he did over 200 of them. But he didn't stop there. He then did a different challenge by doing push-ups with just 2 thumbs and still managed to bust out over 100. And the grand finale, when it came to regular 2-handed push-ups, he reportedly did over 1,500 in a row without stopping. That's some serious strength right there. Let's just say, if there was a push-up competition at the gym, you definitely wouldn't want to go up against that guy. Number 3, Bruce Lee was too fast for the cameras. Bruce Lee's early years were all about mastering martial arts, and by the time Hollywood came calling, he was already a renowned martial artist. But here's the kicker, Bruce nearly missed his shot at the movie industry. In the 1960s, filming technology was still evolving, and Bruce was so lightning fast that directors struggled to capture his movements. In 1966, he got his big break in the short-lived superhero series The Green Hornet, where he was the standout star. However, filming the series was a challenge because cameras couldn't keep up with Bruce's speed. Unlike today's cameras that can shoot up to 240 frames per second, those in the 60s and 70s struggled to reach even 24 frames per second. This meant that many of Bruce's fight scenes couldn't be properly recorded. Bruce was so quick that he could throw up to 9 punches and 6 kicks in a single second, making it impossible for the cameras to keep pace. As a result, the recordings would often show Bruce appearing motionless while his opponents fell to the ground. In reality, he was just too fast to be captured. The filmmakers faced difficulties in recording his lightning-fast actions and had to ask him to slow down for the cameras. Number 2, Bruce Lee's 1-inch punch. The martial arts world is full of flashy feats, with artists breaking concrete slabs like they're made of plastic and jumping high in the air as if they had suspenders attached to their waist. However, I'd argue that no martial art feat is as famous as Bruce Lee's 1-inch punch. As the name suggests, the 1-inch punch has Bruce punching a target from just an inch away and sending them flying. This punch has become a pop culture legend, even being featured in the classic cult film Kill Bill. Despite standing just an inch away from his target, Bruce's punch could send them flying as far back as 5 meters. The punch was strong enough to essentially incapacitate the victim once it had landed. According to a researcher at Stanford University, Bruce's fists travel a small distance in mere milliseconds in order to deliver the 1-inch punch. However, the power behind the punch actually comes from Bruce's legs. To land the punch, Bruce straightens his legs with a quick and explosive knee extension, which moves his shoulders forward and allows him to thrust his arm. Bruce's elbow is then extended very quickly as well, driving his fist forward, and finally, he flicks his wrist just before impact, further increasing the velocity of the punch. By the time Bruce lands his 1-inch punch, he's combined the strength of some of the biggest muscles of his body. It's been estimated that the force of the punch is almost equivalent to that of a car crash at about 50 kilometers per hour. So it's no wonder that the punch sends his opponents flying in an instant and incapacitates them for minutes. Number 1. Bruce Lee's sidekick. Bruce Lee, a skilled martial artist, was proficient at using almost anything at his disposal when it was time for action. While he primarily relied on